All right, so let's wrap up mercifully. So Jarvis Thompson makes the claim that abortion may be morally permissible, and the reason that she believes that has to do with bodily autonomy. She believes that other people, including fetuses, other people do not have any legitimate claim, any significant claim on our lives, on our bodies in order to sustain their own. So we think back to ethical libertarianism and the valuing of bodily ownership and autonomy. One of the implications of Jarvis Thompson's argument, though, is that abortion may be morally impermissible in some cases, and that we make the distinction between those cases where it is morally permissible and impermissible, relying on these categories of decencies that she describes. Some of the strengths of her argument: she makes a really important distinction between having a right to life and having a right to the means to sustain life. And it's that distinction that allows her to make her claim. Another strength of her argument is that she avoids those arbitrarily privileged categories of biology and psychology, human being, human life, the same way that Don Marquis does, by making that significant concession at the outset that for the sake of her argument, she accepts that a fetus is a human being from the moment of conception and as such has a right to life. Some of the weaknesses of her argument: it's an argument by analogy. In other words, it's an argument about abortion that relies on making arguments about cases other than abortion. Arguments by analogy can be really persuasive because they might make otherwise really complex ideas much easier to understand. I remember, for example, one of my very favorite analogies was from a civil rights activist in the 1960s who was very concerned about white people becoming involved in the Black Civil Rights Movement. He said, it's like you have a cup of coffee, and it's black, and it's strong, and it's got bite. And then you add a little cream. It gets a little weaker. It has a little less bite to it. It's not quite as black. And then you add some more cream, and some more cream, and more cream. And pretty soon you don't even know you had any coffee there in the first place, right? And so the idea here, of course, is he's trying to convince us that it's dangerous to the integrity and the quality of the Black Civil Rights Movement to have white people be involved in it. And it's beautiful as an analogy, right? I mean, it's super persuasive. But we would have to accept that coffee and political movements, civil rights movements, are so similar in their properties that what's true for one would also by necessity be true for the other. And we might be kind of suspect of that with regard to the civil rights movement. Well, similarly here, we might ask questions about Jarvis Thompson's analogies. Is a fetus in a woman's body really analogous to a burglar in a person's home, or a person that is having an abortion the same as disconnecting from that violinist who needs to be connected to our organs in order to survive? And that's caused some to kind of push back on Jarvis Thompson and say, look, we wouldn't be morally permitted in killing the disinvited house guest because we were tired of him being there. And we probably wouldn't even be morally permitted to kill the burglar if the burglar wasn't threatening our lives. And disconnecting from the violinist is not the same as killing the violinist. Allowing someone to die is not the same thing as killing someone. And Jarvis Thompson is kind of treating these as if they're kind of the same. All right. So those are some of the weaknesses of that argument. Again, I really strongly encourage you to go read it. It's a super readable essay. And then once you've done so, you can brag to all your friends about this super philosophy you've read.